Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Lauren, and today I am going to be doing my first ever BookTube Book Unhaul. So this is not only the first unhaul that I will have ever done on BookTube, this is the first unhaul that I have done in like over 5 years. So hopefully I'm not gonna have to break this into 2 separate videos. I'm gonna try to get through these books pretty quickly. I haven't counted exactly how many there are, although I am almost certain that there are at least 50. Probably a fair amount more. After I'm done with this, I'll count them all up, get a total, and I'll put that number right here so that you know how many books I'm about to show you. I've loosely broken these up into a few different categories. And it ranges from books that I have multiple copies of to books that I read and enjoyed but will never read again, all the way to the very main attraction, which I'll probably save to the end, and those are the books that I actively disliked. So yeah, let's just jump right in here and get through all of these books. I like all of these books, but you only need 1 copy of it. So the first one is Neuromancer, which I have this super cool trade paperback copy of now. I have 2 copies of Something Wicked This Way Comes. The first one I think I bought for myself, and then the second one someone gifted to me, and they are identical copies, so I only need 1 of those. Canticle, which I read in 2020, I guess, and I liked it okay, but honestly, I probably wouldn't keep either copy, but my husband really likes this book, so we only need 1. White Oleander, this is a great book, and I have a really nice hardback copy of this. And Area X, which is the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. I actually, interestingly enough, I have a trade paperback copy of it that I like better. And whenever I received this, the back cover was like seriously damaged. So yeah, so letting go of that one. And then I am very happy to say that I am getting rid of these mass market paperback copies of his Dark Materials because I got this awesome bind up, which I'll show you guys some other time. But if you saw my video where I complained about how much I hate these mass market paperbacks, you'll know how happy I am to finally have that bind up now. So getting rid of these hideous things. Okay, now we have some books that I either DNF'd partway through or basically DNF'd at the start, like started it and realized I was never going to get into it. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, I knew from like the first 10 pages that I was, no, absolutely not. No Way to Kill a Lady, which I don't know what I was thinking when I bought this. This isn't even almost the kind of book that I'm interested in. You know, I honestly probably bought this in an airport for something to read on the plane or something. I don't remember. I've had it for quite some time. Just no. I started Wicked. I think I actually read about half of this, and I think I was enjoying it for maybe the first third to half of it, but then completely lost interest and was slogging through, so DNF'd it. I don't want to give it a try again. I'm not interested in it. Valentine, this book, it's similar to another book that I read before that I was kind of about and didn't realize it until I opened this book and realized that the author does not use quotation marks when people talk, and I cannot handle that. Like, can't do it. So it's going. Enchantment by Orson Scott Card. I think I read maybe a quarter of this, just could never get into it. So yeah, so I DNF'd that one, and I will never pick that up again. And then finally we have Satellite. I was hopeful for this, but the characters are very young and they speak in text speak. So like letters like you are and stuff like that. Sentences aren't capitalized. I can't handle a book that's written in that sort of text speak style. So yeah, I can't tolerate that. I can't tolerate this. Here's a book that I do not know what this is. I do not know how it appeared and when it appeared on my shelf. My husband doesn't know either. We do not know where this book came from, and I don't really care enough to find out. So it's going. so let's get into some meat and potatoes here. I need room for books on my shelves. What you see behind you here, this is like the tip of the iceberg. There below these 2 rows, there are 2 more that are full. The shelf goes all the way through and the entire back side of it is full. And there are books all across the top of it. Those are all of the books that are in this room. You're seeing the duck gliding across the water, but the little feet, you don't see the feet working underneath. So all the other shelves, we have just too many books in this house. So I'm not gonna keep these if I don't think I want to hold the physical copy and read it again. So the first one is Dry by Neil Shusterman. This was super fun, like pretty thrillery, almost like a kind of apocalyptic story, but not gonna read it again. Star's End. This is a sci-fi novel. It was fun, but it was okay. Nothing stand out about this book. Never Let Me Go. I don't think this was really what I thought it was going to be, so it was okay. I don't know, it just didn't quite hit me, I think, the way it was intended to. It is very well written, though. 6 Wakes by Mur Lafferty. This was fun, but I'll never pick that up again. The Keeper of the Lost Cities, which is a middle grade book. It was fun to read, but I'm not really into middle grade. I doubt I'll want to read it again. And The Salt Line. This is kind of a post-apocalyptic dystopian story, and it was fun, but yeah, no need to keep the physical copy of it. Lock In by John Scalzi. I think this is kind of almost like a pandemic kind of story where people get locked in syndrome, and I feel like it has it's maybe a murder mystery or something. I don't know. I can't remember it well. I do know that I enjoyed it while I read it, but not enough to read it again. Radio Silence. This just is not my kind of book. It was okay while I was reading it. I don't know. This just isn't my thing. This isn't my kind of book. Sleeping Giants. It's such a beautiful book too. It's hard to let it go because it is such a nice copy of it. But I need room on my shelves. The Dreamers, I actually was enjoying the story till the end. The end of this book was pretty disappointing. So that kind of makes me never really want to pick it up again. Yeah. All right, next some books. These are Book of the Month books. I canceled my Book of the Month subscription a long time ago. They just don't generally carry the books that I'm interested in reading, so I canceled that. But these I all got while I was still subscribed. The first one, this is Dominicana. This is the first book that I read that the author didn't use quotation marks, and it drove me nuts. I cannot handle reading going through this again with that sort of stylistic choice, no. When the Sky Fell on Splendor, this was pretty fun, teenagers and some sort of alien spotting or something. I can't remember it particularly well. It was okay. I Let You Go. I think it has something to do with a mother whose child was tragically killed, and she's kind of carrying around the memory and the guilt from that. So it's very thematically heavy and very internal, and I don't know. I think once reading this was enough. Mexican Gothic, which has received a whole lot of love on BookTube. It was okay. I think this was probably the first Gothic story that I ever read, and I thought it was okay. I don't know that it's a genre. Just judging by this book, I don't know that it's really a genre that I'm very interested in. So it was a learning experience, but I don't think I'll ever want to read this again. We've got The Family Upstairs. It was okay. And, I think that this cover is super beautiful. It's always hard to let go of covers that you really like, but this was it's kind of a thriller, kind of a mystery thriller sort of a thing. And it was a little cliche, honestly, for my taste. So yeah, I think I'm gonna let that one go. The Woman in Cabin 10. This was definitely a thriller murder mystery set of kind of insular murder mystery set aboard a boat out at sea. And it was all right. It was okay. Pretty middle of the road, but I'm not gonna read again. We've got Daisy Jones and the Six. This is another just super well-loved book for most people, but I thought it was okay. I know that this is based loosely on Fleetwood Mac, but and I'm a Fleetwood Mac fan, so I think that was actually kind of a downfall of this book. I would rather be reading a true account of Fleetwood Mac when they wrote their album Rumors, which I think this is basically a fictionalized version of that. So I didn't find it particularly impressive. Yeah. And finally, we have The Giver of Stars. I didn't really have any major complaints about this other than the fact that it just kind of wrapped up a little too neatly with a nice little bow on the top, but it's just not really, this isn't really my kind of book. So yeah, I'm gonna let that one go. Okay, next up, and this should be a fun category, books that I read and perhaps enjoyed well enough while I was reading it, but pretty much instantly forgot what the book was about. I'm gonna share these with you and I'll tell you everything that I remember about all of these books. Final Girls. It has to do with final girls. Still lives, art. Girls in the Moon. It has to do with 2 girls, or was it 3 girls? Girls, there's some girls. I'm not kidding, like this is it. This is all I remember about these books. How Not to Die Alone. I think it's about a guy who's maybe an accountant, an anonymous girl. I have no recollection of this at all, other than there being a girl and maybe a second girl. But that doesn't even feel familiar. Doesn't even feel familiar to me. The Holdout, which is this was like a courtroom thing about jurors and one that was a holdout. The Animators, 2 women, they're professionals. That's it. That's all I got. Golden State. This is a dystopian story with a guy and some other people. The Chalk Man. This has something to do with drawing on the sidewalk with chalk. The Rules of Magic. Witches. And a hideous cover. Rainbirds. This is a beautiful cover, but all I remember about this one is that I think it's a guy whose sister has died and maybe he goes to do something, figure it out or get her stuff, or I don't know. Marlena, which is about a girl named Marlena. In the Unlikely Event, I think it has something to do with like an airplane crash. Minding the Body, some outdated feminist something or other. Oxygen, which is about anesthesiologists and something. And this is actually, I have a clearer recollection of this, not by a whole lot. Lexicon, I read this actually this past year. And I think if I recall, it has something to do with like language and language being used as a weapon or something. But I started forgetting this like the moment I closed it. And Dark Places. This, I remember it having a lot of blood in it. I don't know. I don't think Gillian Flynn is like my favorite writer. I don't know. Didn't retain anything about that one. The Interpreter of Maladies. This was a winner of Pulitzer Prize winner. It's a short story collection. And with short story collections, either they resonate with you or they don't. And none of these really did. None of them stuck with me. So yeah, so I'm gonna let that one go. And then finally, we have this poetry collection, 1997 poetry collection. I don't even know when or why or where I got this. I don't even know if I ever read the whole thing through, but what I did read of it, I recall being pretty mediocre. So yeah. All right, last but not least, what you probably all came here for, books that I read and actively disliked. So hopefully you don't all unsubscribe whenever you see some of the books that are in this stack, but I don't mean to be mean or hurt your feelings if any of your favorite books are in here. They just didn't work for me. So here we go. The first one, this was actually a pretty recent read, The Cavern. This would have been great, except for the author showed their hand at the very beginning of the story. This was sort of a suspense horror. The very first few chapters, the author described the bad guy thing to a great detail. And yeah, that doesn't work for me. I like to the pleasure is in not knowing. And that kind of ruined it for me. God, The Space Between Worlds. I actually kind of hated this book, mostly because it was a bait and switch for me. I got, I think, pretty much exactly halfway into it. This was not at all what I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a sci-fi, heavy on the sci-fi, but this was more like literary sci-fi. Yeah, it just super didn't work for me. Why did I book tab in here though? Maybe it's just easier to think something is impossible than to try. Profound. I wish my experience reading it had been as well. Light Brigade's kind of a similar situation. It felt a little bit more like literary and thematically heavy than what I was looking for. I thought it was just gonna be like fun sci-fi romp, and I don't know. It just, yeah, I didn't like that. Here we have a book that I kind of hated as well. An absolutely remarkable thing. This did not work for me at all. I don't like the way that the author writes women. No, I hated that book. We have Priest Daddy, which was a memoir. Didn't work for me. It was boring, uncohesive. It didn't feel like it was going anywhere. I didn't like that. Here we've got some hot takes. A lot of people, there are some mixed feelings on these books, but now you're gonna know what side I fall on. The Silent Patient and Behind Her Eyes. I think that both of these books were really poorly written, poorly executed. This one mostly because the twist in it was obvious to me nearly from the very beginning, and not for me. And then Behind Her Eyes was just way too out there. It just was way too out in left field for me. So yeah, letting that one go. Startup, which was, this was just way too like millennial young professional sort of story. This was not a good book. This book, actually, The Last Human, almost made me mad while I was reading it. This book almost made me want to do a least favorites of 2021. This was definitely my very least favorite book of 2021. This was a very condescending book, so it is going. We Are the Ants. This was not what I thought it was going to be. Thought this was going to be a sci-fi novel. It really isn't. This is more just like sort of this tragic contemporary YA. I mean, it was written well enough, but because it wasn't even almost what I thought it was going to be, no. The Girl with All the Gifts. I don't think that this book necessarily did anything wrong. It just wasn't, the story wasn't for me. It didn't work for me. I'd Know You Anywhere. This book actually could have gone in the books I don't remember what they're about category. But I do remember whenever I finished it just being like, that was really not a very good book, and then promptly forgot what it was about. So it's going. Let's get a couple out of the way that are probably going to get me in trouble here, but books that I just really didn't like that I think a lot of people love. This is I'll Give You the Sun. Sorry, I don't like that book. And also Raven Boys. This is just too teen heartthrobby for me. So it's going. A couple of them that I read this year that didn't work for me. An Unkindness of Magicians. It was off to a strong start, then it just completely fell apart, in my opinion, which was disappointing because the cover is beautiful. I think this is one of the most beautiful covers that I own. And like I said, the start was so strong, but I didn't like this book. It disappointingly, it didn't work for me. The Test, I kind of saw where the story was going. The twist was not much of a twist. And yeah, I didn't much care for this one. Death House. I don't know. The ending of this was, why does Stephen King blurb everyone's books? I mean, he loves everything. If he loves everything, does he love anything? You know what I mean? Another one that I read this year, The Anubis Gates. I was super hopeful for this, but it was just, oh my gosh, it was way too much. It tried to do way too much, this book was just like so extra. No, not for me. And then finally we have Dare Mighty Things, which was a YA sci-fi, and there was not enough tension in this book, so it didn't work for me. So yeah, getting rid of that one. The last thing that I want to mention is a couple of books that I am on the fence about. I might keep one of these books. So I would love your opinion on this. Maybe down in the comments, tell me which one you think I should keep. Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman and A City of Stairs. City of Stairs, I actually started, but ended up DNFing. But it's such a well-loved book. I'm just like, maybe I need to give this a try sometime, try it again. So I'm kind of on the fence about getting rid of this one or not. And then Challenger Deep, it sounds like a super imaginative book. And I think it has a lot to do with like mental health and the main character who has a super rich imagination. And I I don't know. It sounds like it could be a really interesting book, but it may be a little young for me. I don't know. If you have an opinion on either one of these, which of these two you think I should keep, then just tell me down below in the comments. All right, so I think that is going to be it. Those are all of the books that I am finally letting go of. I would be curious to know if you are just really excited for me to get rid of some of these, or if you're really upset that I'm getting rid of some of these, what you think about any of this. Hopefully you don't think this is too boring. It's hard to talk about books I want to get rid of in any sort of interesting way. It's just like, yeah, I'm not into this book and I don't want to keep it. So hopefully this hasn't been too terribly boring, but yeah, that's it. Those are all of the books that I am letting go of. In case you're all wondering, I'm probably going to first offer them up to my friends and see if any of my friends want them. The next, I will probably offer them to the Buy Nothing group that I'm in and see if any of those people would like any of these books. And then finally, I will take the rest probably to the used bookstore and sell any of those. And if there's any of those books that they don't want, I will donate the rest of them. So that's probably the order of handling all this that I will go in. So there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me today while I showed you all of these books that I am unhauling. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I hope that you will like this video and possibly subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.